It's always weird seeing my friends in the lobby. I saw Bill and Peter and Michael sitting out in the lobby. I feel bad seeing my friend just sit in the lobby waiting. He should be brought back immediately.
No, but if I wasn't out there, I wouldn't have got to see Jim scamper up the stairs just showing off his incredible cardio.
Yeah, you see my pre-shit scamper?
Yeah, Jim
Is that
knows.
the executive shitter upstairs?
Yeah. It's a little cleaner and there's less people that use it.
Yeah, you don't want the guest shitter downstairs. You want upstairs. That's wonderful.
Jim doesn't waste any time on stairs when shitting is involved.
Yeah.
It's going to be all toilet time.
I was afraid I was going to
you
miss some of the interview. I'm like, these guys are going to start. Like, a lot of times I come back and the show has already started, so I wanted to make sure that I was here for the entire
Jim, you have that comedic internal clock, and you just realized you had a little window to shit, and you and your little inseam went up the stairs.
Came back with 20 seconds to spare.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I hated doing a live read in front of Bill.
You did?
Hated it.
Why?
It's not comfortable.
All right. So who are we here with, Jim?
Well, we're here with you and Peter Billingsley as well as Michael Price.
There it is.
There we go. Well, why would we be here?
Yeah, why are we here, I wonder?
I'm going to guess it has something to do with November 30th, F is for Family, Season 3.
Season 3, there we
right. There
go.
you go.
The plug.
Yeah.
Steered
Nicely
it,
done.
drove it right to the plug.
Yeah.
Right off the shitter,
You
right into the
nudged
plug.
me and I went in the right direction. I knew what you wanted.
So how did you guys get together as the trifecta responsible for this show?
This filthy cartoon.
This awful, filthy, adult cartoon. Because let's protect the children, you know? Let's make
I
sure
know.
parents know not to let the children watch it, because
That's right.
there could be
Because
damaging
it
themes.
could be damaging to other animated children that watch it.
That's right.
I was walking down the street one day and I said, I want to do a cartoon show with swinging testicles.
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
Right.
He had
And then
a
you just
vision.
looked for other people that
That's
shared
right.
that vision.
Yes, that's right.
That makes sense.
No, I was just basically telling childhood stories on stage, and in the beginning of my career, when I was just a young lad, those jokes would kill, and then somewhere along the line, all of that stuff kind of got labeled as like, oh, that's mental abuse, that's bullying, that's this, that's that. So I started getting like, oh, and it was frustrating. So I stopped telling them, and then I don't know. One day I was thinking, what if I just made like animated shorts, you know? And of course I'm a comedian, so I never did it. And I think I opened for Steve Byrne, and I met Vince Vaughn of a Wild West Company, and came in and I pitched a show to Peter, and I literally was just like, I don't have any ideas for shows. None of my pilots ever get picked up. If you guys are doing anything and you want to throw me in it, I would love to do that. And he was like, all right. And then as I was walking out, I do have this idea for a cartoon. And he was like, well, we're looking to do something animated. And yeah, and then it just kind of, these guys are like, they're like the best in the business as far as like, what would you call it, production company? I don't know what the terms are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they just put, next thing you know, I'm talking to Mike. Mike came in, the great Mike Price from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And I got to say that or else he beats me in the register.
That's right.
And he just,
No shit time for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Steve Byrne is happy he introduced you to Vince Vaughn?
I haven't taken any of his me time away. We have a very, I'm busy as hell, so, you know.
So when
when I'm talking to Vince, I see him looking over my shoulder. He knows, he sees Steve. He knows Steve
probably
has the heart of gold.
So
He
when you
knows.
and Vince are talking, will like Vince kind of make an effort to make eye contact with Steve as well? Like,
Yes.
yeah, you're included in this.
And
I
part.
see you
part of
too.
me dies inside a little bit. Yes. No, he's the best, and he actually is on this season. We wrote this character, Chet, and like, dude, he just.
He's so great.
Yes, there really ought to be some sort of hardware for that man in the end, like some, I don't know. I've never been on the thing that gets the award or whatever, but this might be something. At least gets us. Maybe I'll at least have to rent a tuxedo.
He gave us so many great takes of scenes that we had to like spend hours and hours in the editing room, like finding just the best 20 seconds of like an hour and a half of just pure gold.
I know, and you didn't want to cut anything. He really is one of the funniest guys, definitely of his generation and of all time. And yeah, so I got to be in the booth with him, just hanging on for dear life. I'm like, all right, I'll just try to pick my spots here.
Yeah, do you do it with people or do you do it separately? Usually animations, a lot of times they're done separately, or will you actually do it with people in the room?
Some people are cool with just doing it by themselves. Vince always wanted, somebody there, which was really cool because then you can kind of do like the overlap. And Sam Rockwell's like that. We actually have a couple of Oscar winners on our show now. Like
That was probably always your intention, right? I want to do this cartoon show about my childhood. We get some Oscar winners to do the voices.
and Golden Globe winners. Yeah, we win.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Allison Janney
Allison Janney.
It was
Laura
partly
Dern,
the
Emmy,
intention,
and
though.
Golden Globe winner. Yeah.
Because it kind of grounded it, like the show is funny, but it's also, hits a lot of dramatic themes.
Uh-huh.
And so we were kind of like, how do you separate yourself as a cartoon? And we were fortunate to get Sam and Laura to join up. And so we're like, okay, maybe this sort of sends a better message.
Right.
So, do you guys ad lib and then animate around that when you have somebody like a Vince Vaughn or someone who's
For
just
sure.
going?
Yeah.
Do you go like, okay, we're going to record his
Vince,
dialogue
absolutely.
first?
It's kind of like you do one or two, like how we wrote it,
Mm-hmm.
and then Vince is just like, well, here's the stratosphere of what you were trying to do. And then he was just like, oh, that's what we should have wrote.
Just open up the
There
mic
are-
and just let them go.
Yeah.
There's one episode, I think it's the third episode this year, that ends with Vince's character talking to Bill's character, and it was so much funny stuff that we just like said, let's just keep it going. So
Over the
like,
credits,
you know,
yeah.
on Netflix, like unfortunately, sometimes with Netflix, like the show ends and then like the next one starts in like 2 seconds, unless you quickly hit this button saying stay on the credits. On episode 3, stay on the credits, because then Vince goes off for like another 48 seconds. All about this insane room he's going to build in Frank Murphy's house, and all what's going to
Oh,
be
there'll
like
be
a-
times if you let it play that you actually will miss that because it just
yeah,
goes
you'll
to the
miss
next
it
one.
if you
Yeah,
don't let
gotta
it
hit
play.
it.
So we try to make the show go have funny stuff all the way through the end sometimes. So there's a couple episodes like that, but that one especially.
And then we did
is
an
like-
answering machine.
Right,
That
the answering
literally
machine.
he was
Justin
going for
Long
so
on the
long.
answering
Then
machine.
we did the beat
Oh, right.
on the answering machine. He called back, continued on the answering machine for another 40 seconds because it was so good.
That's right. Yeah.
So do you find that the stories that were once like these stories of mental abuse and the things that people felt sympathy for, if you animate them, does it soften it in the sense that people are like, oh, well, this is just a cartoon? Or do people still
No, we
come and-
actually we will do the over the top version, and then every once in a while we're like, all right, let's just sit in the sadness of this. Which, you know, so it's not, because if it wasn't, I was afraid that was just going to be one note, just, you know, me yelling the whole time. So we definitely have like, like all those stories we used to tell like the table. Like I remember when I was like, I don't know, like 6 years old or something. And for my birthday, my mother and father had bought me this whole cowboy outfit. I swear to God, like back when that was considered, now it would be just like, these people were murderers. Right? They wiped out.
Cultural appropriation,
Yeah.
too.
So she puts the whole thing on. They had the hat, a little bandana, little holster, and all that, and just like sent me outside. And like, I don't even think I made it to the end of my driveway. These big kids just descended on me. They took the guns out of my holster and just, they're supposed to have like mother of pearl, but they were black and white plastic. They just smashed them on the ground. And I just stood there and watched it and walked into the house. And I just handed my broken guns to my mom. She goes, well, who did this? Who did that? I was just like, big kids, right? And I just sat down and she made me a sandwich, and that was sort of the end of it.
Right.
And it was like my birthday, and I was like really sad. It was the day after my birthday, and like so like those are those things where like the animation of big kids descending and like what that feels like as a little kid.
Right.
That's where you can kind of take it. But that sad walk up the driveway by yourself with your broken toy. Like that's also something that we like to have.
And then
have
you-
But
in
you look
there.
back and you realize they were right. The big kids were right to do that to you. Some kid in a cowboy outfit in,
the middle of the day.
1980. Yeah.
I know, Jesus Christ. Thank God I didn't make it to the curb. If some fucking pervert would have pulled over. Oh my God, did I order this?
There's some guy in a headdress in a van. Come on, get up.
But that's the other thing. Like, you get back in the house and you think, well, okay, somehow my guns are going to get fixed or my mom's going to make it okay or whatever it is. And when you just get that sandwich, you realize this is what happens now. Those guns are gone.
Yeah.
They've smashed them. And all you can do is sit here and eat this sandwich and live in it.
But you're also like a little bit like a dog when you're that young, where it just like 10 minutes ago, all of a sudden didn't happen. And I was just kind of eating a sandwich, got the restless leg going. All right, let's go play with Lincoln Logs.
Did you
or something.
take the hat and outfit off, or did you leave the rest of it on for a little while?
I think I probably sadly removed my hat at the table. No, but all of these types of things, like that's the shit when we get in the editing room. Like, what if he took his hat off? Once you see it, because it's not like you just read it and you're like, oh, it's going to look like this. It's like you record it and then we send it to the people that animate it, and then it's like their take on top of that. And they always, make really great choices, and sometimes they'll just steer it in a direction that makes us go like, oh shit, it'd be funny. What if we added this? And we're always like, well, we're long, we got to cut something out. And one of the reasons why I don't like the editing process, other than the fact that it's really tedious, is there's all these fucking jokes that I love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Mike has to be the bad guy on this. We got to move on. There's no time. We're over 30 seconds. The scene has to end here. I'm like, but this thing that happened.
Yeah, I guess you
no
forget.
one's gonna know, Bill. No one's gonna remember. I'm like, all right.
I guess you forget, especially like with The Simpsons and stuff like that. Like animated shows that even if they're full of jokes and you just recite the lines, if you're just watching them, you don't realize there's actually an episodic structure here and timing, and like you have to move and tell a story and go someplace.
But
with
that's
this.
where these two guys come in, because I'm just the joke machine. I'm
Right.
just like, then he says this, then he says that, and I'm just driving off into a field. It's like, Bill, the story's over here. Story's over here. I know, but what about in the field? Like, I'm the worst.
You're missing this over
Yeah.
here. Okay,
But this is a
Bill,
funny bit, and it calls back to the other thing. Yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't move the story.
Yes,
it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. If I did, each episode would just be like, it would just go for about 40 minutes and slowly peter out, and the characters would just break the fourth wall, wave,
Right.
and walk away. And
With funny jokes, right?
Yeah, great jokes.
What else do you need?
Yeah.
Is there ever stuff with the animation where you like go back and go like, nah, that's not how we saw it, and they'll actually redo something?
Oh, sure, all the time, Because the process is like we work on it tons. We go through like every show goes like Bill had like 5 or 6 versions of storyboards and then what's called animatic, which is like the animated storyboards, and then the animation, and we're constantly rewriting it, editing it, adding new stuff, moving stuff around, take this scene, put it before the other scene, and just anything to make it work.
The worst is when there's a line that you loved and it actually killed in the booth, and then it goes on the screen and it just lays there, and you go, why the fuck doesn't that work? And I can never figure out the answer, but I just know it has to go. Like, all right, we got to cut that line. That drives me. Because I can't seem to figure out why. Some of that, just sometimes you'd be in the booth, everybody like dying, like, oh my god, that's so funny, and then it comes back with
And nothing.
It's like a joke that kills once on stage.
No, it's like, oh my god.
Kills the
And
first
then it
time
never
you do
works.
it, and then never again. And you're
But
like,
that's
I
the fun thing
yeah.
about the process. If it's live action, right, and you go shoot, you got to get the set, the actors, you got to schedule everything. Then you hope that it all works. You get back, you realize it doesn't. There's no shot at necessarily going back on the set. But in animation, it's just a pen and a paper.
Right.
You're like,
Just
all right,
draw
it falls
new.
flat. Fuck it. We'll just
Right.
change it. We'll just rewrite that joke, and boom, we're out.
Or sometimes in the final edit of it or something, we'll need like, it'll be funny if Frank had a funny noise here or something. We'll pull something that Bill did like 2 years ago, and, like, throw it in there like, or something like that. So our editor has like a file of like 100 versions of Frank going, shit, fuck, we'll just pull one out and throw it in there.
Have you heard the soundboard that they created with your lines?
Actually, I don't think I have.
No.
I just know when I can, I've recorded them so many times that when I'm just watching the edit room, and I'll this out of nowhere, Frank will say something. I'll just look at Mike and be like, "Oh, we pulled that from 2 seasons
There's
ago."
one this
All right.
season where their car spins out of control and like exits frame, and you hear it crash into a fire hydrant, and we pulled the thing from like 2 years ago. If you're going, shit.
Oh,
No, that's not the right shit. We need a different shit. No, that's the
no,
one.
but you literally have those conversations.
Is that the right shit?
And with this straight face, it's just like, that fuck I just thought needed to be a little more shrill. And you're just sitting there, you're talking like, the most filthiest words and just eloquently, like you're talking about wine. And,
well, we have a couple options here. If we could sample like different fucks.
Something we already said cunt like 2 pages before.
Yeah.
I just want this cunt to really hit. So if we take that out, like it just like literally having those comments. But we always catch ourselves. We start laughing, going like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, well, I think we have a cunt barrel. That's like a something barrel is a comedy writing term. Like we call it a sock barrel sometimes. Yeah, we have a cunt barrel. We need. Let's change it to something else.
What is
Change
this thing
it
you
to
guys are doing tonight too? And our tickets available for it at the New York. It's a NewYorkComedyFestival.com. And what are you guys doing? It's like a live discussion.
Yeah, like fans of the show, if they want to come down and like we have like the people that are into our show are like crazy, like devoted, rabid. I mean, they see shit in the show that I don't even notice, and then they come up with all these theories and all that stuff. So it's sort of our little mini Comic-Con. they come down, they ask all these questions, and we've done a couple of these. Did one in like Nashville. It's fun because we work so hard on it to see that there's people out there that connect with it and they're really into the show. Oh, what a Hollywood phony I am! What a perfect answer that was.
Do you get people giving you like in my family and giving you shit from their family that they think you can animate? That's tragic. Like my father ran the dogs over with a lawnmower. Use that next season.
Yeah, no, there's definitely. Well, I like when young kids come up and actually still go, my dad's just like that, and blah 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 blah. Which I don't want anybody to have a dad necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of good aspects of Frank, but like I also it makes me feel good as a comedian, going like I knew it, like I knew this stuff that I'm doing, people are relating to, and just sort of all of that shit that's out here now, all of that progressive stuff where everybody's sort of acting this thing. But like the stuff that they think is funny or relate to is kind of still what it was. So it's a really weird time. So when people do come up, especially young kids, it definitely I think it actually helps with my stand-up act. I just think of that. Well, that person thought it was funny, so I'm going to try this in front of these young people.
It's also kind of tragic if someone comes up to you now, though. If someone comes up to you now and it's like 2018, they're 7, like that. My father does that. You're like, fuck, to now? Like that was okay 30 years ago.
Oh, right. You shouldn't do that
like,
anymore.
We're looking back on shit they consider abuse, like soap in the mouth. You're like, yeah, that was just what it was like growing up. And someone's like, no, that was abuse.
I know, but compared to some of the stuff that happens to other people around the world, I mean, our idea of abuse is like, I don't think, there's little abuse, but like washing your mouth out with soap, I mean, it really got the message.
It did.
I remember my dad did it. He was too much of a softie. As much as he screamed and yelled, he just sort of washed your face. You just have your mouth. My mother was
say he used like pump soap. Not that
No, my mother was just like stick your tongue out and like fucking like just dragging it across. And I remember, and we would all sit there laughing, watching it happen to one of my, just psyched it wasn't you. But I don't know. I when I look back on all of those, I don't have any anger about it. I just look back and be like, yeah, I was an asshole.
I just love the lessons that it's supposed to teach you. A minute ago, you're sitting here, just a bunch of adults sitting around a table trying to figure out which cunt to really fit in here. Like, it seems like it didn't stick.
Well, I'm over 21. I'm allowed to drink now. I've earned those words. No, but we would just, we had a big family and stuff like that. My mother, she had to, like, keep control.
Right.
Like she dealt out the beatings. My dad was, by the time I figured out my dad was a softie, he was just going to be screaming and yelling. That's kind of all of what it was. But my dad was in a fraternity, and as a souvenir, he kept the paddle. It was this thing that, all the stuff he went through. And then my mother used to use it on us. She would line us up.
Beat you with his nostalgia?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, to the point the letters fell off it over the years. The Greek letters, like...
You had a theta stuck in your ass.
Oh, yeah. No, we used to hide that fucking thing. We used to hide that thing, and... Yeah, I remember the last time she tried to beat me and my older brother with the thing. We were just too big. Like just this period of time had gone by, and we had hid the thing, and then she found it, and we were just too big, and we were like blocking it, grabbing arms, and we're just laughing and all this shit, and she was trying like hell, and we just kept laughing. Then she finally quit, and I remember her eyes welled up, and she just looked at us, and she just went, "It isn't funny." And she walked out, and it was worse than any beating ever. And me and my brother both went to bed like fucking quiet, like, oh my God, we just made our mom cry. And we just wanted to rewind that so you could just scream bloody murder and make her feel good about herself.
Yeah, just destroyed mom's whole sense of being.
Yeah,
you broke her.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, there was a number of those moments. So that's once again would be like, that's like one of those stories where if you animated her, like that whole fucking thing is funny, and then out of nowhere she starts crying. It's just like, oh fuck. And I think most people can relate to, breaking your parents' heart.
We had her beat the kids with a wooden spoon last year. Right? She had that wooden spoon. Shut the fuck up.
And that was my grandmother. I kept messing up this throw rug. She was walking for some reason with the kitchen, and then there was the living room, and then the dining room. She had to walk through the living room, and I saw her walk by. There was this little throw rug over this hole in the rug, the real rug that we had. And she bent down. She goes, "Who keeps messing up this rug?" And I just immediately was like, "Oh, here's the comedy." So she went in, and I fucking messed it up again. She came back out. She goes, "Who keeps doing this?" And I did it like 4 times. And then she went into the kitchen and then stopped and quickly looked back out as I was messing it up. And dude, she came at me with this fucking wooden spoon, like a tomahawk. And I just remember I got my forearm up and it snapped over my forearm and she had this look of rage. And after it snapped, she just went back to being grandma and she just went like, well, that's the end of that spoon. And she just picked it up and just walked back in and I didn't fuck with the rug anymore. So I don't know. I guess telling these stories it just loans itself better to animation because there is that weird thing. If you did that in live action, I think people would just be like, "What kind of messages is sending?" and blah 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 blah.
The tragedy of the
watching
whole
a kid
thing.
getting beaten with a wooden spoon would be hard to watch.
To the point that the spoon breaks.
Be hard to laugh at. Yeah.
Plus, I would feel bad about the actual kid having to play the actor.
Right.
Like I remember watching Eastbound and Down and like feeling really sad for the kids that were in that show.
All the mean stuff. Yeah.
Like somewhere there was like a stage bomb saying, "My son's on an HBO show," but the poor kid has to sit there and listen to all this abuse.
Oh, yeah. I told that story before. Remember that I was on this sitcom and you know when you work with babies, you got to work with twins because they're only allowed to work for 3 hours. So you have one during rehearsal and then the other one does the actual shoot. So this person showed up with these twins and one of them was absolutely catatonic. Like you could have had a fucking wolf growling in its face and it would just stare at it. The other one was screaming bloody murder. So we're like, all right, let's use the docile one first, and this kid will calm down by then, blah, blah, blah. So we worked the first kid for 3 hours. He's done, right? And then we go to do the taping, and they go to use the other one. The other kid is still crying, right? So the dad quickly switches the names on it. So basically, Sam is now working a double shift, and Jim didn't work at all. So now I'm standing there behind this fake wall with this fucking kid that is like 4 hours into his workday, and all of a sudden, of course, right as my line's coming, this fucking kid starts losing it. And the dad, remember sugar corn pops?
Yeah,
those
sure.
big fucking yellow things. He pushed it in the kid's mouth as it was crying, like it was making no noise. It was crying so bad. He shoved this thing with his thumb, jammed it in his mouth, and then I had to walk through this fake thing like Schneider. And the kid comes in screaming, and it fell out of his mouth. I just felt so filthy. It's like, I don't want to be a part of this. And then we actually switched to a rubber kid. We used a fake baby. And they should have told the crowd. They didn't. I came walking up. The thing was like gray. And I came walking out, and it got this huge laugh. Like, people all thought, like, oh, he's fucking with us. And then they realized, like, no, they actually are going to try to pull this off on the people at home. And it was, yeah. I literally
Was that Townies?
Yeah, way back in the day. Way back in the day, my first like acting gig.
It's amazing what stage parents will do to get their kid on screen. Like he just, in that moment, that guy wasn't a father.
Dude, when he switched the name, he looked at me and he winked, and I was just like, oh man, oh man, I'm a fucking part of this now.
Now this is you.
Yeah, like
you knew you could have stopped.
He dragged
this.
me into it. Yeah. It's like, dude, do your little 3-card money with your fucking kids when I'm not here. I don't.
But if you had tried to object, he would have put a corn pop in your mouth.
Well, especially shoving something that you could choke on. You could choke on a corn pop and he's shoving it into his baby's mouth.
The whole thing was just like that's not going to stop it. Like the kid's going to was screaming bloody murder. Like that was going to stop the kid. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you get weirded out because of the series? How many people kind of know your childhood stories now? Because you're a pretty private guy. Aside from what you put.
They're not. They're just. They're like amalgams of all of our our stories and stuff like that. So I mean, I wanted my parents to be able to watch this and not be like mortified that we put all of that stuff out there. But
this is literally just what happened, Bill. Why would you do this?
No. So if they were to watch it, if they could figure out how to use Netflix and put in a password, because I don't think they've even seen it yet. If they sat down and watched it, there would be like elements of little catchphrases, or if any of my siblings were to watch it, like this thing's like in the pilot episode when Bill's up in the tree and those kids are throwing rocks at him. Like, that really happened to me. Now, they didn't start shooting fireworks, but me and my friend, we climbed up this tree. We were just having a good time, climbing a tree, because that's what you did back then. There was no iPads. You actually had to fucking make your own fun. So we just climbed up this tree. These big kids just came along, saw us up there, and just started throwing rocks at us for like a half hour, hitting us in the ankles. We were just up there crying and shit.
Because they had to make their own fun, too.
Yeah, and then they just left, and we just continued after we got done sniffling and crying. We just continued. And I remember I went home. I didn't even tell my parents. It was just part of the day. Like, just you ran into big kids, you hid, like just bad shit. They just would throw you down the hill or just break your toys and shit. And it was just sort of it was a lot more free for all. You just kind of sent your kids outside and they fended for themselves.
So what do you guys do? You sit in a room and just go, all right, and then just start throwing out childhood stories or things that happened to you when you were kids and figure this works, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like a new character, coming along. I feel like I'm the only guy talking here, but like I just feel like if we do like a new character, like okay, his uncle comes to town, then it's like I don't even, we kind of sort of have like a story idea, and then someone would be like, man, I remember my friend down the street had an uncle, and this guy, for some reason, he always wore this leather vest, and it just kind of starts with that.
Yeah, or like one of our writers, Emily, put the thing in that was in the first season where they did like a slip and slide, and they made like a homemade slip and slide out of like plastic wrap, and then and then the girl slid all the way through and punched through it and like went into the road. Like that actually happened to Emily, one of our writers. So it's that kind of thing like that. We'll spend the first couple of days of a new season just like throwing out those stories. And this year, if we start another season, we might start again like that. Like what's going on? What's happened? That, and we just sort of find a way to sort of channel it into what we want to do.
And then people just come up with like weird little idiosyncrasies. Like I think Emily also came up with the fact that the bully, for some reason, like was really into making birdhouses.
Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jimmy Fitzsimmons likes to make birdhouses.
Yeah, and he likes to sing, like he sings a lot of like musical sort of songs while he's just, because if he just made him like a bully, you know what I mean? It would get boring after a while. So you got to have like these things that he's like, this vulnerable stuff, which was always weird when you saw the bully like all of a sudden show this side that
be
like, wow,
vulnerability.
Dude. Wow, dude, like you should be getting the shit kicked out of you right now, but none of us are big enough to do it. So now we have to sit in the awkwardness of this fucking thing that you're showing us.
This thing is okay, but our thing isn't.
Yeah.
What about you, Peter? When you were growing up, were you getting picked on because you did A Christmas Story, obviously, when you were young? You were Ralphie, like one of the most recognizable things ever. And when you're that age, being recognizable is not always the greatest thing in the world.
No, it was different. I started at 2.5 acting, so by the time I did that at like 12, I had done a ton of stuff. So I was already
you were the guy.
You were born
I had
with
a lot of
sugar
sugar corn pop moments. I actually had really good parents, which is fortunate, and I wasn't forced into it. But I did this back in the 70s, like long before the child labor laws or anything, any kind of regulations. I remember I did a movie called Honky Tonk Freeway. It was like this huge movie.
I love that
John
movie.
Schlesinger directed it. You should check it out. It's a really cool
It's a Honky Tonk
film.
Freeway.
Who's the star of that movie?
Paradise on
Terry
Wheels.
Garr, Howard Hessman, like sort of the back in that time. It was like 79. And they would always tell you when you're tired and when you have to wrap, like after the 3 hours. I'm like, I'm not tired. And they said, well, we've got this other shot. You're going to come back in the morning and finish it. I said, I just want to finish it now and be done. They're like, no, you're tired. So we let the school teacher leave, the social worker. I watched her. I said, bye, I'll see you in the morning. I went back to my trailer, changed back into my outfit, told the director I'm going back in, shoot me out because I don't want to come in the morning. They did, and then they just canceled my work in the morning. So I was always down to play ball and do that.
How old were you?
Really.
Like 9 at that point.
Wow.
But I had my schedule mapped out. I knew what I wanted to do the next day, so it was easy.
So you've never worked outside of show business?
No. I mean, even the sort of odd jobs I had when I sort of moved behind the camera, I worked through post-production. That was really all that I've ever done.
Wow.
Man.
And a ton since 2.5. But again, I had really good parents who weren't pushing me, like the corn pop guy.
Right.
So it was a very different journey for me.
Well, it sounds like
set up to be more fun.
Like you wanted to do it. Like I don't think many 9-year-olds were that smart to the business.
No, I enjoyed it. Yeah, and it was really fun. And Christmas Story we did in Canada. And I was a resident of Arizona, so there were no child labor laws. So I was doing 12-hour days on that one.
And you liked it.
Wow.
It was great.
You wanted to do that.
Yeah, but like truthfully, if I was tired, my mom would say he's tired and we're done.
Right.
So it's like you don't sort of let the clock tell you. It's when you felt like
When you hit a
Did
certain
the
age,
director get mad the next day? How you doing this morning, little Pete? Or are you feeling good, or are you tired?
And they made you do 100 shots at that Santa Claus putting his foot in your face.
He just kept doing it over and over and over.
Kick him in the face harder.
Tired
Canadian
still?
Santa Claus.
Little shit.
was there an age where you stopped getting work? Like where it was like, all right, you were the cute kid, but now you're this age?
I transitioned through the teen years and kept working, which are the tricky ones, like puberty when you get all awkward. But then I just didn't. I wanted new challenges, so I wanted to kind of move behind the camera and stop acting. And then I met Vince on an after-school special, which was one of the last jobs I ever did as an actor and one of the first jobs he ever did.
Oh,
and
wow.
we became good buddies, and then his acting career was taken off, and then I sort of went behind the scenes. And
so did you have
then we
any
built up.
sort of regularity to your childhood, or was it a lot of work all the time?
It was a lot of work all the time. I didn't play like a lot of organized sport. I played some, but then I sort of joined a team and then have to bounce.
Right.
I never graduated high school. I couldn't find a high school to support me, so I got my CHPSE, my California High School Proficiency Exam.
What do you mean support you in the sense that like because you'd be gone so
Because it was
often?
gone, so they didn't have any idea how to send a curriculum and kind of support. That's all changed now with online, but this was before the internet, so it was.
You remember how
very
big
different
after-school specials were?
Oh yeah, that
You'd
was
like
good.
race home to go see
It
them.
was a good gig. Yeah, like it was a big deal. You thought there'd be a lot of eyeballs on it.
That would still be a good. I'm doing after-school special in a minute. I mean, I want to watch one that was about drug abuse.
They should call it the kid who got a cowboy outfit for his
I remember I watched this one. It was on drug abuse, and the older brother was like this amazing swimmer, and he was maybe going to get into the Olympics, and the other kid just didn't really have any talent, so he just started smoking weed and doing all of this shit. So they did this whole fucking thing where, you know, he goes through the whole journey of it. So then he ends up getting cleaned up. The whole family intervenes. He thinks he's going to be fine. So the Olympic swimmer, he has to train one more time out on this lake. So he wants his brother to row the boat to give him like a pace to keep swimming to. And I guess he was on drugs or something like that. And he somehow hit him in the face with the oar, and he almost drowned. So he felt
What's the lesson?
he felt so guilty. The whole thing was don't do drugs. See, he always keeps it on story. Like, where are we going, Bill? We're in the field. So the next day he goes into the hospital. He goes, I feel so bad. And his older brother's being a good shit about it. Just be like, no, it was an accident, whatever. He goes, I was high when I was rowing the boat. And then the guy just puts his hand over his, like the two black eyes. He goes, get out. Just get out. Right? So then you get out. I remember it ended. I'm telling this in detail so so many listeners might find it. The story ended with him driving on the highway, wasted, going through construction signs, and he just was singing. He just kept screaming, going, "I'm a winner! I'm a winner!" and he dies. Like that was the end of it.
He had something.
Yeah, the construction sites, Jimmy. See, they were warning him that there was
he
no
went
more
off.
highway. Yeah, I forget what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he just kept
Thelma and
screaming, "I'm a
Louise ending
winner."
there.
So then that became like a catchphrase in my family. Anytime you were fucking up, you just kept going, "I'm a winner! I'm a winner!"
So you guys didn't learn drugs are bad from that.
No, we used to do that. If you were doing your homework and your brother came in, we would go, "Get out,
Funny.
just get out," you know. And it just but you didn't learn anything. You just fucking made fun of it. We thought it was fucking hilarious. We didn't do drugs because our parents told us not to do it, not because we watched this stupid fucking movie.
Right.
Sorry to whoever wrote that.
I don't know. Maybe kids just. I mean, I guess kids don't really watch regular TV when they get home anymore because the only thing that's on in those after-school hours is like courtroom TV show reruns and talk
you used
shows.
to get home at 3:30. You'd run and watch it.
You're right.
It was a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, nobody's watching
And
that
you'd get
stuff.
your lesson.
You're watching the stuff on Netflix. What's that? 13 Reasons? Is that
Watch it
the
on your phone.
the suicide show for teenagers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're
That's the
watching.
new after-school special.
Yeah.
Exactly.
13 episodes of someone killing
Exactly.
themselves. I'm a winner.
Very different.
Still have that.
Ours was on steroids and the
All right.
abuse of steroids in school.
And how bad it was.
Yeah.
By
And
the way,
you know who was in it?
No, Jim, how great it was.
Yeah, we were celebrating steroids. Everyone was jacked and
You're
saying they
sponsored
should
as
do
an
it.
interviewer.
Sponsored by a steroid company.
Well, I wanted them to expand on it.
Yes, of
You
course.
said steroids. and
Only
period.
for some.
I
Well,
think-
I would assume.
I think we found the name of your after-school special.
Oh,
Bill.
no.
Oh, what is that?
They believe it was called Stoned.
The Brian
no
Jones
way.
story.
How the fuck there's always somebody that remembers it?
I believe.
I'm a winner, stoned, or you probably put details in and something comes up with it.
Well, I don't think it's the Brian Jones story because that's from 2005. This is clearly
No,
much
no,
older.
Wait, is
that's
that
not-
about
you'd
the
be
guy
back
from
in
the
the
fucking
90s.
Stones?
No, that's not it.
That's
It's with
about
Scott
Brian
Baio.
Jones from the Rolling Stone. Yeah. that's-
Stone. It's still called Stoned, but apparently it's from 1980, and Scott Baio's in it.
That
sounds right.
Scott Baio was
That's
in that?
that's what I'm being told. That's what I'm being informed in my ear. Yes, that apparently Scott
Oh
Baio.
my God!
Scott Bale.
Okay,
There it is.
Troy wrote Scott Bale.
No,
There it is. Yeah, go to that middle clip.
Wait.
Go to that middle clip. Let's see if this is it.
Oh my! I haven't seen this since
The
30,
Phoenix
30
Learning
years.
Group.
Come on in. Come on. Now. Not you. All right. Where are your parents? Working.
I don't think this is it.
Ah.
He's taking his
And
guitar
I
off.
wanted it. Is that Mark Price?
Could be.
I don't know.
Travis is saying
No,
it's
no.
The plot
No,
is
it
exactly what Bill just said on the Wikipedia page.
Just get to the last scene. He's just going, "I'm a winner.
We need the I'm a winner
I'm
scene.
a winner." Or get out. Just get out.
Just get out. I love that he forgives him.
Special.
He forgives him, and then when he finds out
he was on drugs. Does it say anything about him being a swimmer?
Yeah, how about oars?
Yes.
Beats him with oars.
Just Google
O-A-R-S.
"get out," just get out. All right, whatever. We don't need to waste any more time.
That's amazing.
I'm going to watch that no matter what.
Yeah, I bet it's the same one. Try that. Try right there. He's in the hospital. Stone Part 8. First one right there.
Oh, that's the fuck.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, there it is.
That's it.
Oh my God. All right.
Do you know how long and how hard I've trained for this meet?
Looks like it was shot on a handy
And
cam.
it's all over because you were stoned. Get out. Just get out.
Oh my God, that's it.
All right, save that link. Give us the drop. I want "get out, just get out" on my soundboard.
Who's that?
That was his dad just
shoot,
looking at him
that
with
guy.
absolute disgust.
That guy was in a million shows back in the day.
You all right? Yeah, I'm just fine.
He covers for him, yeah.
Get out.
Just get out.
What the hell happened? Oh, would somebody speak up? What happened?
Yeah. I was clowning around.
He covered for
Oh,
him.
he was going to say
He
stoned.
covered for him, clowning
Yeah.
around.
Nice.
What a good guy. Isn't it amazing the pacing of these old shows? That
Yeah.
like there'd be no soundtrack and they would just allow the silence to just sit. He's just looking around the room and you just allow it to be dead in the room.
I love the fact
waiting for him to be like, line.
I love the fact the father has one question and then gets angry. Are you okay? What the fuck happened?
I have not seen that since 1980.
Is the end? We find the end like part 8, try part 9, part.
No,
2.
I bet this
Oh,
is
it's
towards
here.
because this is like it fucking wraps up.
Yes.
Pretty. I mean, that's the end of it.
My name is Jack. Not Super Jack or Stone Jack.
Ugh.
Just plain old Jack.
Oh, wait a minute! I combined two movies.
I think
Oh,
you
no,
did.
you're thinking of fucking.
It looks like
Dirty Larry, Crazy Mary. Was that Crazy Mary, Dirty Larry?
I don't know.
Do you remember that movie where they die in the car at the end?
I thought you were joking.
No.
Dirty Mary and Crazy. I remember that movie.
It
I
looks
don't know if
like
that's
it
the
looks
one or
like
not.
Jack cleans himself up at the end of this one.
Yeah, he's smiling. He's just Jack.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't have somebody die. I combined two movies.
He's not Stone Jack anymore.
All right.
Or maybe, are you sure that
That's
the
the
brother
app.
doesn't die? You sure it's not the brother who was a competitor?
Why would the brother?
I don't know. Maybe that this ruined him.
But why would that be an after-school special?
That's
This
that's
right
the-
here is the writer's room.
Be a great
That's-
twist.
Why would we end the episode like that?
Well, that's
Just
the after credit scene. Is him.
Yeah, the good guy just kills himself. That's
No,
not
it's
a
an
good
accident.
lesson.
Maybe he doesn't. He makes a mistake.
All right. So now,
All right.
now, if your listeners can somehow find, there's a
I'm
movie.
a winner.
All right, we have
Okay.
to put after school special on
Yeah.
the show.
You Brian Williams did. You conflated two
Yeah.
things together.
That's
A
right.
little early, wasn't it? What did they were like?
I don't know. We
That
could
was
look it
80.
up.
That's an early one.
Yeah, they had him. I don't know. I have to look.
They
do some
dominated the
research.
80s.
All right.
That's
well,
amazing.
but at
But
least
that was one of your last gigs, though. Was the after-school special in terms of in front of the camera?
Uh huh. In terms of in front of the camera, yeah.
Right.
Yes, it was. Thank you for bringing that back full circle.
But now I want to see
Well done.
what the winner
I want to
movie.
see.
I
that
want to
too.
know what
I
that's
cannot
from.
fucking believe I have not seen that scene in 38 years.
And then, are you going to go home and try to find it again?
I've never. Well, now I know the name. At least that I'm sending that to everyone in my family. Everyone in my family. I'm gonna
Just
send
get
that.
out.
Get out.
Can we find
Just
I'm a
get
winner?
out.
I'm a winner construction site after school.
Yeah,
special.
yeah. And put I'm a winner in
Die,
quotes.
end of movie.
Yeah.
We got a lot of search.
Now I'm dying to know what
parts
this
here.
is.
It's amazing how impactful these things are. These things that you watch
They
when you're a
stay with
kid.
you.
They just stay
Memories,
with you
they
forever.
do.
Stick with you
For
forever.
sure.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you know from working on The Simpsons. Like
Yeah.
every line on that show, somebody knows. People
It's
have
incredible.
hours and hours of conversations just doing Simpsons lines over and over
There's
again.
these guys on Twitter that just like every day they include me in it for some reason. But it's like 40 quotes in a row, just like about what's going on in their life, but with a Simpsons quote.
Yeah, if you had any
That's
idea that
unreal.
that's what
Yeah.
was going on, I feel like that would be a tremendous responsibility. Like, not only do we have to write an episode, but this is stuff that people are just going to say forever.
How many
you can't think
episodes
that
are you guys up to?
Around 650 or so right now.
I mean, dude, that's
Yeah,
like
that's
they're messing with. Was it Gunsmoke? Was the
Yeah,
longest
we
one
just
ever?
passed Gunsmoke.
Wow.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Rotten hell. Yeah, no, it was 6. Yeah, we just passed Gunsmoke.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you talk about the progressive stuff. Apu is under attack. At all times. Do you guys have any idea what's going on?
I'm not really. Let's talk about F is for Family right now because I'm not. That's a thing that's being handled above my
above your pay grade.
My station
Jesus,
right
Sam, when this become hard?
Trying to get the scoop.
I did the thing that we talked about last time. Like, what do you think of Apu? No. What do you think of Apu?
Sam guaranteed the listeners he'd get an answer.
I'm going to get the scoop today.
I have to ask the question. I wouldn't be respected.
Yeah, but let's just say there may be a convenience store owner coming to F is for Family soon. We don't know. I'm not saying who it is, but
it is weird.
A gender neutral.
A gender neutral.
When you make a project, any project it is, it's like you don't know how culture is going to change in 5 years or 10 years. Where all of a sudden, what you're doing now, which is perfectly acceptable, is no longer going to be acceptable. It's like, how do you there's no way to plan for that shit.
I just realized how high in that chair you're sitting.
It's comfortable for my legs. It's very comfortable to sit like this.
Jim talked to me about wanting to be in a position of authority, regardless of who the guest is. He wants to make sure that his chair raises just slightly above.
It actually just puts me at eye
else.
level with other people. It doesn't make me any taller.
But to your question, that's one reason why I think with our show, because we're set in the 1970s, like we're just saying we're just showing like this is what it was like back then, you know. So we're not trying to score points about today necessarily. We're just sort of saying this is what this
and
is
you
what
don't have to try to navigate it.
Yeah,
because it's in the period.
Right.
You can you can do what you want to do.
Stuff that
we
people
always
remember
say
happening.
this is how animated people talked in the early
90s.
1970s.
This is how animated family interacted.
You can get away with more in cartoons. I mean, people
Yeah.
just agree this is a fantasy world where nobody's in any real danger, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They're not real people.
If you take it literally,
so I understand their drawings. Is that right?
Well, there was a thing. There was a thing on The Simpsons where a comic book guy was really mad because there was a comic book where like Superman and Batman both wanted to marry Lois Lane or something. And he tells Bart, he goes, that never happened, you know. And then Bart says, well, technically none of it ever happened. And he's like, get out of my store. So yeah, I mean, none of it ever happened.
Is there anything that you've done on The Simpsons that you've been surprised has resonated with people the way it has?
Well, everything, you know. But
just everything.
Yeah, everything. Me personally, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my mind. I mean, the main thing is that like all this weird stuff about how we predicted Trump and all that stuff, which didn't really. I mean, they wrote a show. I wasn't around. They wrote a show 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Set in the future where Lisa was the president and the previous president was Trump. But even then, like 20 years ago in 1998 or 99, he was already talking about how he was going to run in 2000. So it wasn't that big of a leap.
They are convincing, though, when you just throw up the screen grabs, because nobody actually goes back and checks the episodes.
Right.
It just becomes a meme that they just post the still, and they're like,
right.
oh, my
well, then it
God.
turned into a weird meme, because then what happened was after he announced and he did that thing where he came down that escalator, then we did a little short that wasn't an episode of the series, but a little short we made for the internet where it was that, like we were making fun of that. Like he was coming down the escalator and Homer was behind him, like looking into his hair or something. And so then people threw that up as like, see, we predicted it in 1999, but that was a thing from like 2 weeks after. So that's how weird stuff on the, you know, you guys know how the internet works. But yeah.
There's no facts on the internet. It's just opinions.
No.
Is there stuff you've wanted to do that they've said no to? Like stuff from childhood that's true that like, that's
on
too
our
much?
show?
No. It's
No.
the opposite. They would like go push it further, push it. Sort of the dream notes that you know, when we were coming up, oh, Jimmy, way back in the day when it was all, how can we build a sitcom around your act? They'd always, we want edgy. And then you would go in there and then they would just take your knees out and they would just gut the whole thing. The amount of comics that I saw, so funny on stage, and then you would watch the finished product of what it turned into, just because of the pressure of advertising and all that. Like Netflix doesn't have any of that. So like, they literally,
there was one episode in the early on season where the kid on Halloween, where he's wearing his pickle costume and the bully starts beating him up, and like he brought two of his friends. In the original script, it was like the bully and his two friends start beating Bill up, and the people from Netflix were like, bring in more kids, like make it more, make it more. So they're pile driving him, and they're doing like wrestling moves, and they said, make it more kids, like really just beat the shit out of him. So we were like, all right, that's all right.
They're also like a kind of a young company too, so it's like I just think, and the way they're doing everything was just different when we kind of got there. But I remember, when we got that note to push it further, I was just like, I thought it was a joke. Like these guys, I'm like, are they fucking serious? Like this is the notes I've wanted to get for the last 15 years. Where they are usually the notes you get, but who do we root for, and aren't we promoting this? And then you just eventually it's like, all right, he's a dumb guy, but he's a lovable lug.
Right.
His wife is smarter, and you're just doing that. Which all of those were just the bastardized version of the Cramdens. Everyone
absolutely.
just
he learns a lesson during the episode.
and it just became like that. Yeah, but then it was always just like, the dumber the guy is, like that was fucking hilarious. But if you had a woman that was kind of dumb, then it became all like, oh, that's not I don't know, that's not pro women or whatever. It was so fucking frustrating. So that's why when I sat down with Pete, I had been through the ringer so many times. It's like, I'm not going to do another fucking deal because none of my shit ever gets picked up, and then I'm not allowed to do anybody else's projects for like a year. And I was just like, yeah. So that's why I said that, Pete, when I came into it. It's just like,
I nearly wanted to do them as 5 minutes, and instantly when I heard the idea, I thought it was phenomenal. And said, let's do them as 30s. And then we got together, and one thing that we did was we wrote the script ahead of time. So a lot of time if you pitch something, they'll say, oh, great. And then you're in development.
Right.
And then you get the notes. So by kind of creating the script ahead of time, having Bill attached, you can sort of say, hey, this is the show.
We're delivering
if
you
a
want to
do this,
yeah.
this is the vision done now, and you
Vince
can
went
cut
on
all
the
this
pitches.
stuff out.
So I'm sitting there with Vince Vaughn,
right?
And they're like, Jesus Christ, he's into this, and we're like, and here's a script. So that's the lack of talent I have. That's how hard we had to go to get some idea of mine on the air.
It's smart, though, to have the script ready. This way they can't start saying, okay, now we have pressure to put our ideas in there. You've done the work for them.
No, this is the show.
Plus, they're nervous that you're leaving with this script. It's like, what if somebody else reads this and loves it?
Right.
Like, but I really think, Peter and Mike sitting down and writing the whole script and all that stuff, and then walking in with Vince is what put it over the top.
At what point did you guys realize, like, we have multiple seasons here? Like, they're going to keep going with this thing? Because I would
Not
imagine
until they picked up the second season.
Second season. They're like, all right, we're looking good.
You don't know.
Yeah, so you
still
always
don't know.
Because that's how it's not like you're making them and you're seeing how the ratings are going. You're continuing to write like the way they do in The Simpsons. Ours is just like, all right, here it is, and then you wait 3 days. And then Netflix goes, all right, do it again. Or, it kind of underperformed, and bye.
We're done.
And they
We're finished here.
Send you out the porthole of their giant fucking spaceship. You're like George Clooney, just floating away. Back to the comedy clubs.
Does the Simpsons ever worry about being canceled anymore at this point?
No, not really. I mean, it's just going to be a question of like
when you decide it's done, right?
Yeah, I think so. Fox says they still want it, and we want to keep making it, and as long as everybody's happy and making the show and everyone's still around to make it,
It's like Cal Ripken Jr. He decided when the streak was over. I'm going to sit down this game.
Because you could go somewhere else if they cancel. You could always just go somewhere else. Somebody would take it.
But they wouldn't cancel.
Probably would. I don't think they're going to cancel it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a new world coming up between Fox and this Disney thing and everything, so that might make it a little uncertain. But everything we hear is that Fox wants the show to continue, and we'll keep making it as long as we can.
Whenever they do those things where it's like, we're showing every Simpsons episode ever, there's some lunatic out there with like 2 VCRs and just and still back, old school tapes, all of them.
Yeah, they did a thing when it was either for the 20th anniversary or the 500th episode or 25th anniversary, where they did a marathon where they showed them all in a row, and they set up this tent on in this place in Hollywood where they brought all these people in like an old school dance marathon, except instead of dancing, they were just sitting on their asses watching The Simpsons. And whoever could make it through all the way won some big prize. And I went over there after it was literally ran for 7 days or 8 days.
my
and
God.
I went there on day 6, and these poor people were sitting there like death. They were rolling up to like episode 400 or something. It really felt really bad for them.
Do you watch it if it's on ever or no?
Sure, I watch it.
do?
Yeah. It's fun. Like I was in London in summertime, and it's on all the time over there. So we just turn on the TV and it just happened to be on. So it was really full.
It really is amazing because, like, I think FXX, the app, they created an app that has every episode.
Every
now.
episode is on.
Every episode is streaming. So there are, like, all the people. That's what happened to me in all my wrestling VHS tapes. Like, all the people that spent all their time recording every single episode on their tapes, then this app comes out, and they're like, "No, we have all the episodes here in perfect quality," and you're just looking at all these VHS tapes. Like, what did I spend my life?
Well, you threw them
doing?
out when you were done, right?
I still have every tape.
He kept his tapes,
all of them.
Like for what?
Well, they're all there, and now, like in the writers' room, when I first started, like 15 years ago at the writers' room, like if we wanted to remember something, like there were these books they put out, like you'd look it up. Oh, okay, and then suddenly there was Wikipedia, and then there was like DVDs. And then now it's every episode. We can just pull an episode
just streaming
like that and watch it. Yeah, it's incredible.
But you feel like the tapes that you recorded off the TV are this accomplishment. So when something comes out that is just makes them completely obsolete, you go, okay, but I got to keep my tapes. I collected all these tapes.
No, what
I
you
recorded
need is
them.
you need to upload the commercials. Those are the ones. Those are the ones. Like we sit there. Like that's like so much of the writers' room day. Is what I just did. There was this show, and this guy said blah blah blah, and then we find it and we laugh, and sometimes it's just because you're tired of thinking, and other times it actually ends up getting into the show. Like we've always talk about this old cigar commercial. We've had this joke for 3 seasons in scripts.
That was the story I told you like the first time we ever met on the show, which is my dad. Frank is a little bit based on Bill's dad, a little bit my dad. My dad never yelled at us like like Frank does, but he would get mad and he would yell at like inanimate things like the TV. So there used to be a commercial for White Owl cigars back in the 70s with this guy sitting there and he going like, "You may not smoke White Owl cigars now, but take one puff and you will." And he goes, "We're gonna get you." So my dad was like worked in construction. He had a bad day that night, and he's like, "You're not going to get me, you son of a bitch."
No, but the thing was, he was alone in the room, and they didn't know that they saw that. But if you pull that up, he's so fucking smug. Going, "We're going to get you."
White Owl Cigars commercial.
Cigars commercial.
We're going to get you.
We're going to get you.
Yeah. You're not going to get me, you son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. Like he's been taking shit all day. Like you, the guy on TV, you're not going to get me.
I think it's this one here.
The second one?
Yeah. No, the third
71.
one. The third one.
Okay, go to that third one.
Let's see if it's
all right, let's see.
White Owl shade-grown wrapper.
No, that's not it.
How about we look up? We're gonna get you.
Yeah, White Owl.
We're gonna get.
We're gonna
look
get
up
you.
George. The guy's name was George S. Irving.
Oh,
yeah. See, I have a weird, bizarre trivia head for old actors.
Yeah, it's like Stump the Schwami, and he knows everything.
There he is. Okay, there he is. This
is that
guy.
the one?
That's the guy.
All right, let's see.
There he is. Oh, this is like a fucking remix.
God damn! Why do people remix?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
White Owl. And
they
when
remix.
you do,
Why do they do that?
Why do you remix it? Just put the thing.
You're making it worse.
Yeah, that's it. But they're remixing it for some
I
stupid ass
hate
reason.
people.
But you could see how smug he was, though.
There it is.
That's not him either.
Original.
That's a different dude.
Oh,
That's a remake.
fuck that guy.
This one. All right,
October
so then-
72.
But you got to skip. You got to skip forward a little bit because I found it on here. Let's see.
You find this is
It's during a Get Smart episode. What's
It's on there.
commercial montage.
Fucking sled of a car.
It looked like a commercial
Like you
for
wanna
Get
go-
Smart, and
There's Joe Namath.
That was a
Fucking
cougar.
Johnny Unitas, maybe. I think it's further. It's more closer to the beginning.
I love this. But you sat there watching. Oh,
There
there
it
it
is,
is.
there it
There
is.
it is.
All right,
Okay,
all
okay.
right,
Go
get
back
ready.
to
This is good.
Okay, okay.
This is good. I
Sears'
swear.
reputation for dependability. With Sears 19-inch color TV.
Jesus, what a piece
Here
of
it
shit.
is.
sooner or later, you're going to try a White Owl. And when you do, we gotcha.
See this motherfucker?
Maybe we'll get
I hate this guy already.
We got you.
later for one of our great shapes. But we're going to get you. You know we're going to get you. Oh, yeah.
You're not gonna
They're
get me, you son of a
But
bitch.
my dad was a blue collar guy, so I think that guy represented like all the rich.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
guys
yeah,
in
like
a
a
suit.
suit on.
Yeah.
He's like, I know you. I
Yeah.
can get you to do whatever I want. No, you can't.
Meanwhile, he then drank his like Miller beer or whatever. They just see
Just like at the time
Yogi
we're gonna-
Berra indoors.
We're going to get you hooked on smoking. It's just like,
Yeah.
we're going to get you.
We're gonna get you. Yeah,
And
it's
we got
addictive,
this-
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna addict you to drugs.
Isn't that great though? Like You never know. He's just a guy. He's in his chair. He doesn't even know his kid's watching him. Little does he know, like, that's the memory. Like, this is the memory that I'm going to leave my son with.
Well, little do they know it's going to wind up on television, too.
Yeah.
These weird things are going to be winding up.
Someday. We keep putting it in the scripts and we keep cutting it because it just doesn't work for the moment. So we'll figure it out at some point.
That kind of terrifies me about being a dad, that at some point your kids get to an age that literally everything that you say means something. Like, it all makes an impression on them, and like
no, when they see you as a human being, like that's really what's going on there. Is you're seeing a guy who's been, sort of beaten down that day or whatever, and your dad stops being Superman, and he's just this guy
yelling at the TV.
Yeah, you're not gonna get me, you son of a bitch. And that, like, you can, like there's like. He's white knuckling. He's hanging on, which implies like this. Oh, this guy isn't, bulletproof,
right?
And it just gives you this unsettling feeling. Maybe things aren't going to be okay. Like you get all of that out of that thing.
I don't think my dad ever let his guard down. I can only remember like one time, I'd be up late at night or something, and I'd see his lamp would be on, and I found out he hadn't been sleeping well or something. And I go, like, Dad, were you up late last night? And he's like, oh, yeah, just some trouble sleeping. And, like, clearly he was going through something or had something that was keeping him up.
Yep.
To this day, never knew. He never let his guard down.
So in the show, what you would do is you would show what was going on. So then that line would be hilarious.
Right.
Like, it would be so big and so fucking ridiculous. And it'd be like, no, just trouble sleeping.
Trouble sleeping.
It would be like the biggest understatement ever.
Yeah.
So this is all making me want to get back into the writer's room.
Yeah.
Just because those are the things that I fucking love.
Yeah.
About dude, just in all the dumb, like the shit that they let you do. I remember like when we used to drive to school, the giant yellow bus, right? The guy driving the bus, like, there was a big thing. Can I open the door? Can I be the door guy? And he'd be like, yeah. And he'd have you standing like an inch from the windshield as you drove down the street. No seatbelt. And you got to open the doors. You felt all special and shit like that. And
right.
You'd be waving at cops. And just this freckled-faced kid, like, you might as well have me on the hood.
Right. Oh, that's great. I think, and I don't know, maybe it's just the people that I've interacted with, it seems like parents are way more humanized now. Like the parents are way more allow themselves to show their vulnerability.
Well, that's also because everybody's filmed now. So you have all these kids filming their parents, screaming at them and putting them online. So
I guess, but I more mean like the people that I interact with or growing up and stuff. It just seemed like the younger the kids got, the more they had this sort of relationship of equals with the parents that I didn't relate to at all.
My big one that changed everything was that show To Catch a Predator. Like that just, I think, made everybody nowadays feel like there's some pervert behind every tree. And
it made me not take lemonade and cookies.
My wife sent me a video of my daughter, and they were at the park, and she was showing, like, my daughter would, like, walk, like, 10 feet away from her or whatever, 15 feet, and then come running at her because that's her new thing that she can run, right? And as she was walking away, like, literally my heart was in my throat that someone was going to come by, just, swoop her up or something like that. Like, so I don't know if it's because of watching those. I don't know how my mother would just go, all right, go outside and play. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You just would send us outside all day, and then literally ring a dinner bell, like for cattle, and we would all come running in. She didn't have the triangle; she just had like this little little fucking bell or something like that. So I don't know. That's the stuff that I think, where she got us bikes, and we just drove away, drove miles away.
Yeah,
busy streets and all of this shit,
and didn't have a phone, didn't have anything like you have now. Like it's even worse.
Right.
It was the same way here.
Yeah, you'll just be back when it's time to come back.
You'll be back literally when the streetlights are on. That was in the first season we did that thing. When they're on, you run home.
I brought my son to like the mall, and we're just walking around the mall, whatever, but I'm holding his hand. And I had no idea what happened, but the minute that I just kind of let go of his hand because he wanted to run, I let him run. But the minute there was like any sort of separation now, I'm like in this panic. Comes in over my whole body.
But is it different with the second kid or third kid? Because they said the first kid gets it worse. Like my sister and me, I was treated much more strict, and then she could kind of do what she wanted.
You were treated strict? The things that you did as a child?
Yeah.
He rebelled.
Yeah, I guess so.
They held on too tight, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Isn't that a 38 special lyric?
Put something in his mouth.
They should have held on loosely.
Rebelled with his mouth.
I certainly did.
Did little Jimmy rebel with his mouth?
Well, now, like, didn't somebody, parents got like in trouble or whatever for like letting their kids walk to school, right? It's like a thing, the story that happened somewhere around here. I think,
oh, really?
Last year. Yeah, like they were like the school was like half a mile away, or whatever, and then the kids were just walking to school, and the parents got like called up on like family services for like letting the kids walk to school.
Wow.
So.
Yeah,
that's a different world.
I don't know if I don't know if there's more perverts or it's just we're so much more exposed to them now. I
They
think
were
we're
just
probably
called
just more
dirty old
exposed.
men. Stay
That's
away
it.
from him. He's a dirty old man.
Okay.
Like that was the extent of the policing of it.
Yeah.
And then with like there was something about that show and like how just normal the people looked. I mean, that fucking show. When they would catch those guys, they'd be like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I just came over here, make sure she was all right." It's just like, oh my God, all of those fucking people was just like
from the first
condoms and vodka. How do you want to help her?
No, I wasn't going to use them. I wasn't. No, I know. I wouldn't have done that. He's like, well, why did you bring the condoms then? No, I don't know. Yeah, no, I wasn't, because she asked.
There literally
but
should have just been a trap door, and those people went right down to alligators, and that would just be, all right, next. Maybe a great way to...
That first episode...
Just
when
don't put it on TV so they don't know what's happening, and you just fucking...
just kill them.
Yeah, you got to go... Sometimes you got to go dictator.
That's it. Yeah. When the 55-year-old rabbi walks in, and he just looks like... He's not like a pervert, or he just looks like a guy who's a 55-year-old rabbi, and he starts reading the disgusting... chat transcripts, and you're going, it's everywhere. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, that was those. I think that was good and bad, but like that's the shit that now that I have a kid, I just sit there.
It just instills paranoia.
Yes,
yeah.
Like I am. My wife's more chill around my kid, and I'm not. I'm just all like everybody coming at me. Like I just wish I had a spear, could just sit there and poke people to keep them fucking away.
Bill's gonna be like a classroom parent who's like, okay. See it. We'll see it. No. I'll sit. Thanks. I'll sit for the class.
Myself
Thank you.
This little desk.
Yeah.
we love involved parents, but we just think there is definitely a line here.
I'll sit back here. You won't even know I'm here. Don't worry about me.
Just embarrassing her.
Yeah, exactly.
Dad, trying to hang with my friends. Anyways, so season 3, November 30th, Netflix.
Right.
Yeah. Do you get nervous? Like, how's it going to be received? Are people going to like it? Or are you just confident going in?
Oh no, never confident, never confident. So I'm
even after season 3. You're not
I feel
confident?
like this is our best season, or whatever. But there is kind of that, after 3 days staring at the phone, like, is the fun over?
Because we've been, it's just our little thing, for like the last year and a half. Like all of us working on the show, like no one has seen it really outside of the people at the network, and that's what the thing is tonight at the Paley Center. Is we are showing the first episode of the new season. That's like we're premiering that. We're going to screen it at the thing tonight at the New York Comedy Festival thing.
That.
So tickets still available, I think. But so we're going to show it for an audience, which is always great because we never get to watch it with people and an audience. We just watch it ourselves. So it'll be fun to see what people think of it.
NYComedyFestival.com if you want to get tickets, and you guys will all be there, obviously.
Yeah. Yes.
And so we're still in the holding pattern of if this is a success, maybe we'll do season 4.
That's right. we feel pretty good. Netflix has been hugely supportive, and every time they come to the read-throughs of the new scripts and they watch the cuts, they give us very small notes, and they're really behind it. So we have a pretty.
But it's an interesting
very
thing
optimistic
because on broadcast, like you get the overnight numbers, everyone gets them.
Yeah.
Or like a box office, you sort of know what it did. So it's a different metric system where they don't reveal what the numbers are, and everyone's trying to crack the code. But you can get a sense of what the fan response is, and you look online and Twitter, and people engage with the show, which is nice, but you never really.
So Netflix just eventually tells you either good or bad.
Yeah,
they don't give you any.
And then it's like the public reads about it. Your favorite shows, like these Marvel shows they're canceling and stuff recently.
Yeah.
You just don't have any idea until they're like, it's done.
Isn't that a great negotiating position for Netflix to put itself into? We know the numbers and you don't.
So they either tell you you're a hit or you're not a hit, right? Basically, and you can't fight it.
Yeah, it's serious. I mean, we don't find out how many people are listening to us even more or less until contract negotiation time, and you can kind of read at that point.
Okay. I always think of
guys, it's been a tough year.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I always picture that John Candy when he was playing in Stripes, when he was playing poker with that guy, and he was just looking at his cards and everything. Oh, see, now you don't want to do this because I'm going to do that. Yeah, it's like they're kind of holding the cards. But then also, the great thing about like those kinds of networks, though, is that's how you're able to like become an international act, though. So this.
Oh yeah, because it's everywhere.
Yeah. So I feel like it was like back in the day when I used to do Opie, Anthony, and Jim show, like we'd come in and Sirius wasn't paying us, but like they used to literally cut a commercial. They used to let us cut commercials for our gigs.
Right.
And like that's how I became a draw. Like I became a draw in all those Opie and Anthony markets and all of that shit. And so there's always like that I don't know. There's always, if you have an act you can go do, you can always make up
Definitely
whatever's going on.
Definitely.